She is honest and enjoys intimacy. Every man desires the essentials. What do you seek that is more uncommon? Story 1. She is open to a discussion rather than an argument. If either of us does something wrong, let's sit down and discuss it instead of just saying, "I'm sorry," and moving on. Story 2. Being direct is important. I have zero tolerance for hints and games. If you want something, ask. If you don't like something, say so. Communicate like an adult. My fiancée is the most direct woman I have ever known. She is completely devoid of subtext, and it's refreshing. Story 3. Accountability, honesty, integrity, kindness, and loyalty are all rare qualities in humans. Story 4. Honorous head gullible saw ossified numerous chase aloof secretive prophet. Story 5. One that doesn't cheat. I have only been with 2 women out of the 19 I have been in a relationship with who haven't cheated. My current wife and my ex-girlfriend. The best excuse I ever received was, "You trusted me so much I felt like I had to." Then there is, "You loved me so much I didn't know how to handle it." What is wrong with people? Story 6. It might seem a bit unusual, but I am not extremely outgoing. I have a pleasant personality and do not seek validation from social media. Story 7. She admits when she's wrong and apologizes, vowing to change her behavior. It is rare for her to not use what you confide in her against you, and she creates a safe space where you don't have to be tough all the time. Story 8. The best woman I ever dated was genuinely supportive. Not just saying, "I support you," and expecting me to handle everything alone. When I had a bad day, she offered real support and called me. She called me without needing to ask or specify a time. She made plans for us, and when I made plans, she contributed. A rare quality she had was her excellent communication skills. I've realized in my recent dating experiences that I was often just a passenger in their lives. Story 9. I was talking to a woman who felt like I had known her my whole life from the moment we met. We could talk all day, every day, and never have a dull moment. I'm not a big talker, so that was basically unheard of for me. Story 10. I only had one ex who defended me. My sister teased me in front of her, but my ex stood up for me. Friends tried to tease me, but she defended me. Her mom spoke negatively, but she still defended me. I haven't experienced that since or seen any woman do that for anyone I know. She set a high standard for that. Story 11. I remember when my wife and I were dating. She would talk about things for about half an hour. Afterwards, I got half an hour to talk as well. She wanted to hear about my life as much as she wanted to share her own, and I realized she wanted to share our lives together. That's when I knew I wanted to marry this beautiful woman. Story 12. How about a woman who radiates love and warmth? I find that such individuals are rare, and I often instantly fall for them. Story 13. Do you prefer a woman who maintains harmony or who will confront you when necessary? Does she express when you have hurt her? Is she a good cook? Does she have her own interests? Does she seek validation from others or from social media? Story 14. Intuitiveness, grace and manners, balance of gravitas and humor, vision, critical thinking, accountability. Story 15. A great sense of humor. If she's funny, she's funny. I'm not talking about in the broad sense. I mean, she's unapologetically funny. She can be silly when needed to cut through any tension. I don't care if other people think she's corny. If she can make me laugh, I love that. Story 16. In my experience, women sometimes lie to protect a man's ego, but a woman who can be unapologetically herself and genuine about the things you need to hear is truly valuable. Story 17. If she enjoys wearing cargo pants and does so proudly. I know this is not what you expected to hear, but I met someone who appreciates them and was truly impressed. Story 18. This is something I find rare in everyone, but it is a significant deal maker for me. Being willing and able to discuss any topic at a deep level is important. The ability to talk about the art of anything, from a simple advertisement to the Sistine Chapel, is a huge positive sign for me. I am the kind of person who appreciates the tiniest details. I find beauty in the soft wave of tall grass in a highway median. I love the way the rear upper edge of the front quarter panel of a Mazda CX-50 rises into its own feature rather than trying to be hidden and unnoticeable. It's an awkward seam to design around in most cars because four different panels meet there, but that car does not hide the seam. It makes it beautiful. I just want to find someone who appreciates my appreciation of little things like that, because it is a big part of who I am. Story 19. I already found her, and so did every man. It's very simple. All you have to do is treat her like your best friend, avoid arguing, and do at least half of the housework. Don't be a typical old school man. Story 20. She says, "What do you mean by that?" and genuinely listens to me. She doesn't assume malice and actually asks me to explain my opinions. I am pretty emotionally intelligent and can tell you exactly why I feel the way I do, especially regarding some of my more unpopular opinions about dating. They all stem from lived experiences, not the internet. I appreciate someone who truly wants to listen instead of passing judgment. Story 21. She praises people behind their backs but ends with, "Don't tell her I said that," ensuring I will. This shows she is a good judge of character. A friend or sibling tells a joke she actually invented, and she lets them enjoy it, happy that the tale has gained its own legs. She is okay with being small sometimes. We might find ourselves parked at the side of a freeway because it's spring, and the green slope next to the road is bursting with gold sheen from the springtime colt's foot, which I will pick 10 of and create a bouquet. I hope she appreciates small miracles every so often. Story 22. Courage, strength, independence. She is perfectly capable of living without a man, but chooses not to because it is more enjoyable than being alone. She possesses emotional strength and maturity. She does not waver easily when faced with simple challenges, unlike many immature women today. Additionally, she takes action and initiative due to her strengths, rather than waiting for a man to take charge. Over the past 10 years, I have encountered one woman like this. I felt an instant attraction upon seeing how she was in control of herself and her surroundings, rather than idly waiting for men to handle everything. Unlike the other women in that room, she was completely different and extremely rare. Story 23. Willing to grow as a person. If you cannot admit your flaws and pursue self-improvement alongside me, then you bring nothing to the table. Thankfully, my wife and I both started with that mindset, and we have benefited greatly from it. We are both far better individuals than we were when we started dating, and we have helped each other heal and grow through many difficult life experiences, many of them lingering from before we met. Find a partner who is willing to put in the work to be her best self. Story 24. When I was looking to date, I was very surprised at how boring a lot of girls are and how limited their conversation skills are. I wanted someone who could hold a conversation. If we can talk for hours on end, I will definitely fall for you. Luckily, my fiancé and I talk every day and have never run out of things to discuss. Story 25. The ability to take accountability for one's own actions is an attractive quality. When I hear a woman discuss her previous relationships and the possible mistakes she made or things she could have done differently, I find that extremely appealing. In contrast, if a woman blames the breakdown of her previous relationships solely on the men involved and does not consider her own role, it gives me insight into what I might expect in the future. Story 26. Does any type of art have a huge advantage? People involved in art have a fire in their eyes during the creative process, and I love seeing them that happy. Plus, I enjoy observing the process of making art. It has a magical effect on me. I had an experience of close friendship with a very spiritual person, and it was quite a ride, which led me to say never again. Therefore, I avoid horoscopes, religions, human design, and pseudoscience of any kind. Story 27. The older I get, the less I care about little details and the more I care about whether she is a kind, loving person who thinks of others. Story 28. Straightforwardness. I dislike it when people try to hint and be subtle instead of stating what they mean. If a woman is direct with me, I truly appreciate that and want to maintain a connection with her, whether as a friend or a romantic partner. Story 29. Making health and fitness a priority. Being deeply self-aware, curious about the world, playful, and compassionate. Story 30. She likes me. In a more serious tone, it is not a specific trait, but we just connect. We have the same interests and the same sense of humor. Story 31. You know that people are stupid attitude and the this generation attitude. Someone without those traits who actually puts thought into what they are saying, has sources, asks questions before assuming, thinks before they speak, and is considerate of what others have to say is pretty rare. Story 32. Direct communication, knows what she wants, and doesn't care what others think of her or seek others' approval. Story 33. Humor. I laugh at everything because it's my way of coping, so it's a real plus if she can also find joy in laughter. Story 34. Actual emotional maturity that does not fall apart the minute it is time to communicate or apologize. The ability to assert herself respectfully. Story 35. Really being able to listen and empathize with me when I'm having a difficult day or month is important. It's what women want from men, so it shouldn't be hard to receive that from women as well. Story 36. Trustworthiness is the most important requirement, and it is rare. Most people will be dishonest when they can get away with it. When you find someone who isn't, that person is a rare gem. However, the rarest quality may be a sense of humor. Genuinely funny women are priceless. Story 37. Being independent and handling things by herself is important. We don't have to do things constantly. She can travel to Paris with her friends, etc. Story 38. Kindness, especially during an argument, is invaluable. If she can stay on topic without bringing up old issues, you've struck gold. Many women I have dealt with in the past focus more on winning the argument than on resolving the issue. That's when they start using your shortcomings against you. It's like saying, Deborah, we were arguing about who does the dishes. I'm not sure why you're bringing up the tasteless joke I made last month. Story 39. Being able to regulate emotions is important. I understand that your emotions are valid and feel very real. However, many women mistake this for the truth and lose self-control when experiencing strong emotions. There have been many instances where a small disagreement or difference in perspective gets blown out of proportion and escalates into a full argument due to an emotional response. It is essential to mature and be open to feedback, as well as to understand others' opinions without taking them personally or reacting with frustration. Story 40. Non-judgmental. They all say they are non-judgmental, but deep down they are very judgmental and their behavior changes. That's why no man fully opens up and is vulnerable, except to his friends. Men keep it real, women do not. If you don't believe me, try it. Story 41. Accountability does not play games, does not put me through tests, and does not expect me to do or plan everything. Story 42. I have been cheated on in most relationships. However, one girl, even though she caused me a lot of pain and cheated on me, stands out. She wasn't afraid to embrace her femininity, which brought out my masculinity to a level I had never previously reached. She was troubled and struggled with mental health issues and substance abuse when I left her after she cheated on me. Nonetheless, some of her core traits remain with me, and now I have high standards for women. Story 43. Self-driven. I want her to have something she chases that isn't just a standard life goal or striving to relax. Maybe she truly loves her job, maybe it's art, or perhaps she has a fitness goal. Striving for something that isn't a career or a conventional life goal, and that isn't driven by a neurosis is valuable. Story 44. Being down to earth and relaxed. Women are constantly on guard to the point that it becomes more hurtful than protective. Story 45. It's not uncommon. It's simply about being kind. Being nice to others is important. A good person is all that's necessary. Story 46. She doesn't speak negatively about me to her friends. If I am her biggest supporter, I want her to support me too. Story 47. Having her own hobbies allows me to enjoy mine from time to time without her acting like a disappointed puppy. The entertain me attitude is unappealing. It would be even better if we shared some hobbies and could participate together occasionally. Story 48. Willing to communicate. I have no time to read your mind. If I did something wrong, tell me. If you want me to do more of something, tell me. I'm always willing to listen and change. Dealing with someone who can't communicate is frustrating. I once had a friend who was exactly like this, always beating around the bush. One moment she says she's fine, the next she says she's not fine. When I ask her what's wrong, she says never mind, then accuses me of not wanting to be her friend. Long story short, that friendship did not last long at all. Please, for the love of communication, be more direct. We are not able to read minds. We are not gods or superheroes. Many relationships would still be functioning if people would just communicate. Story 49. She is fine with the fact that we each have our own interests and lives outside of the relationship. Spending time together is great, but she also understands that we need to pursue our own activities at times. Story 50. Being direct. I have great communication skills because I am a socially awkward person. I maintain a low profile to avoid seeking everyone's attention and acceptance, and I strive to be respectful and humble. I know it may sound like a lot because of the world we live in today, but I still have some hope. Story 51. Authentic confidence and kindness are important qualities. Many young women experience insecurity and often conceal it with bravado or arrogance. When a young woman understands who she is, accepts her strengths and weaknesses, and confidently navigates the world with that awareness, it becomes evident in her actions and behavior. She is less likely to be easily insulted, jealous, or angry, and she doesn't jump to conclusions. These traits indicate that she has healed from past trauma and grown positively as a result. I would marry that woman quickly. Story 52. She doesn't cheat. She is honest and enjoys intimacy. All of these have the potential to change in the future. Story 53. Calm, unchaotic, kind, not the same as nice, thoughtful, and modest in behavior and attire. Story 54. Just listens and hears what I have to say. I try my best to express my thoughts, but if I open up and she either decides to pick and choose what she hears or makes assumptions based on what I said or what she thinks I meant, I will not do that again. Story 55. My wife handles my straightforwardness very well. Other women over the years were quick to feel insulted. Story 56. If she has hobbies she wants to include me in, and if she wants to be part of my hobbies as well. Story 57. A woman with unique interests who enjoys a variety of activities and does not only favor trendy or popular items. She is the type who can introduce me to new experiences, and I can do the same for her. Story 58. There is a difference between being a doormat, being assertive, and being opinionated. People who can communicate effectively without being any of these are very attractive. Story 59. One characteristic trait that I noticed I'm so drawn to is a feminine woman. Someone I can make feel secure by being my authentic self. That has always been the best kind of relationship. She gave me something and I gave her something. Why did the relationship fail? Because I became prideful. Story 60. She is really into adventure, and I don't mean the type of adventure where she goes to the club and gets drunk on weekends. I mean she wants to climb big walls and go mountain biking through the Alps. Story 61. Showing empathy for men involves understanding the challenges and issues that affect the gender as a whole, not just individual experiences. Story 62. Holding themselves accountable for their words and actions is essential. Understanding that men and women are different physically, emotionally, and mentally, and recognizing that these differences are valuable is important. These are the key insights. I found a woman like this 10 years ago and committed to her. It has been the happiest life I have ever led. Story 63. The more sexually engaged and adventurous a relationship becomes, the more serious it gets. It does not take breaks, does not become boring, and does not withhold intimacy as a manipulation tactic. Story 64. Humility is the rarest quality I have observed in women. A woman's ego often leads her to act like a goddess when she succeeds, even in mundane tasks. My ex managed to parallel park on her first attempt once, and while we were both proud of her, she never let me forget that she was a master of parking, despite having missed the mark more often than not. Is it too much to expect humility regarding something that should be a simple adult skill? Story 65. I would also like to note that women are happier being single at this particular time than men. We have toys that can bring us pleasure, and we find fulfillment in our friendships and in being by ourselves. Relationship problems and the dating scene cannot be justified by portraying women as terrible or vile creatures. We are all human, and no one is guilt-free. We, the women, are often left wondering, do men even like women anymore? Story 66. Be able to express disagreement while also making me feel that she has my interests at heart, rather than pursuing her own personal victory. Story 67. She recognized her sources of dopamine and validation, understands how some are unhealthy, and does not strive to empty her soul-seeking unhealthy dopamine sources. She knows how to endure suffering, understanding that it is not inherently negative but an opportunity for growth. If we have an argument, she does not seek attention elsewhere. She values what she has and strives to repair it. She does not post provocative pictures or show off her body for attention. She recognizes how the 7 deadly sins affect our soul and seeks purification. Story 68. Selflessness. This might sound negative, but in my experience, women can be somewhat selfish towards men. They tend to be generous towards children, the elderly, and disenfranchised people in general. However, when it comes to a grown man who is not disabled, they often appear selfish. Story 69. It's somewhat disheartening to read this, as a bisexual woman, because I hear many women complain about men while they behave just like the men they criticize. No matter how often I point out that they can be just as toxic, just as stubborn, and manipulate just as much as any man they have dated, it's like talking to a wall. I dislike that, in relationships, women often feel they are right because when they encounter a genuinely good man who is emotionally intelligent, kind, and loving, they struggle to handle it when he explains that something she did hurt him, made him upset or uncomfortable. They may label him as controlling when, in reality, it's the first time a man is providing constructive feedback, and they lack the skills to communicate with healthy men. A truly healthy, well-adjusted man will only tolerate foolish behavior to a certain extent. For example, a good man will understand that you have trauma and triggers from past infidelity and will be willing to help you work through it. However, that same good man will leave if he notices a woman not taking steps to address her trauma or triggers and continually accusing him of things without evidence. I am not suggesting that all women are like this. It has just been my experience thus far. The men I associate with have always been upstanding and great individuals, and at the very least, they are always honest. Unfortunately, I cannot say the same for the women I've known, dated, or encountered. Story 70. Want less stress instead of thinking that taking on more responsibilities will somehow show how much you love her. Just reduce the chores and expenses. All work and no play will always turn people into cynical and bitter individuals who feel alienated from their families. Let us relax. Story 71. Rotten ludicrous sugar hat decides snobbish thumb marvelous smell clumsy. Story 72. Loyalty is rare these days. To make it worse, when women cheat, the blame automatically falls on the man. People assume the man did something wrong or did not do enough in the relationship. Damned if we do, damned if we don't. Story 73. Seriousness. I don't mean angry or always deadpan. Those are easy to find. I mean down-to-earth people with their feet rooted in reality, and they are rare finds. Story 74. One who genuinely likes me for who I am. In the past, many women only loved me as long as I was able to provide what they wanted. Story 75. I am passionate about geek culture and can discuss topics beyond superficial comments like, "It looks cool," or "My partner likes that." It would be great to have more female friends interested in activities such as Warhammer, comic books, and video games, and who can engage in discussions as part of my gaming groups. Most of the women I meet at Magic, the Gathering tournaments seem disinterested and have been brought there by their partners or friends. It would be wonderful to meet someone who genuinely shares a passion for fantasy and science fiction topics. The lack of female presence may stem from how toxic some fandoms can be, often due to the behavior of some men in those environments. As I meet new people, it often appears that the men in relationships are the ones interested in the hobby, while their partners are just along for the ride. Perhaps this is just my personal experience, but it seems that at comic shops or conventions, there are often more males than females in the general hobby. Yes, I would simply like to have more women to talk to. No, I am not seeking anything romantic. I am happily married. I just think it would be nice to have friends outside of my existing social circle. Story 76. Self-sufficient and independent, I like being the knight in shining armor as much as the next person. But when you have to do it 20 times a day, it gets exhausting. It is also a sign of a lack of self-respect and drive, which is a major turnoff. Story 77. That's easy. There are three. Number 1, fidelity. Number 2, communication. Number 3, initiation of intimacy. Everything else is secondary. Story 78. Loyalty, honesty, accountability, and integrity are essential values. It appears that many women today struggle to uphold these principles. If they cannot demonstrate these qualities, their views on relationships will be the least of one's concerns. Story 79. I can't say that this is rare, as that's a weird generalizing term for a large group of people's traits. What initially attracted me to my fiancée, besides her looks, was that she is kind and funny. We have so much fun together no matter what is happening in our lives and the world. She is a true partner. Story 80. All of the things mentioned, plus they do not make their wealth their personality. No one I date takes pictures on social media of our hotel room in Anguilla or our meal at a 5-star restaurant in Manhattan. Story 81. Kindness, genuine kindness. Honesty, loyalty, self-respect. These are the bare minimum, yet many struggle to find them in others. Story 82. Given the choice between being attractive and being adorable, I'll take adorable every day of the week. An adorable girlfriend fills the soul in a way that physical attraction doesn't. It also makes her much easier to introduce to family. Story 83. Faithfulness, easy to get along with, can apologize and admit when she is wrong, does not need me to do everything with her, and can let me have some personal time. Story 84. Effort. In my last relationship late last year, the effort she put into pursuing me made me want to reciprocate. Nearly everyone else I have dated over the years hasn't shown as much interest in building a relationship with me as I have with them, which often makes the experience feel rather unfulfilling, especially over time. Story 85. Accountability for her actions, intellectual honesty, a fair attitude, the ability to admit when she is wrong, and a lack of a victim mentality. Story 86. I like women who are curious thinkers. It may be an unpopular opinion, but discussing sociology, philosophy, and the scientific universe in which we live excites me like nothing else. I appreciate debaters who don't turn discussions into arguments. Additionally, I value a partner who is engaged. I do not prefer those who are passive. Story 87. A girl with thick skin who can respond to jokes and sarcasm with more jokes and sarcasm and isn't easily offended is quite appealing. Additionally, the ability to remain calm during an emergency without completely losing composure is very attractive. Story 88. Wants better not just for herself but also for me. She strives to improve and emphasizes staying true to one's beliefs. It is really hard to stay focused in this world. Staying true to yourself and your morals is a crucial aspect of personal growth, and I desire nothing less than that in a partner. Story 89. She holds the same standard for herself as she does for others. Understanding, patience, and an outgoing nature combined lead to success. Story 90. Someone who is actively intelligent. I am attracted to women who have a veracity to learn from the world. Often, these individuals work in a scientific field. If you cannot view the world with a sense of curiosity and ask stimulating questions, then there will be a limit to how far we can go. I am constantly learning new skills and information. Sometimes this involves technical aspects of computers and electronics. Other times it is about craftsmanship, music, or art. I seek someone who shares a similar interest in learning and growing together. And you wouldn't believe I have only dated 2 people in my 26 years. Story 91. Tries to make an effort with your interests, even if she's not into them, like going to sports games. She is not interested in sports but will still attend matches with you. Story 92. There are many good comments here. Independence is important to me. Being able to handle things without needing to ask because I am the man in the relationship is crucial. If I am not around, I am not much use to you, am I? So it would be pointless to ask me to deal with it when you could easily handle it yourself. It's the same for me. It's a two-way street. Story 93. Being straightforward. She knows what she wants and doesn't hide anything in her relationships. She doesn't play hard to get, lets you know when she's ready to make changes, and doesn't hold a grudge. Story 94. She tells me to man up and I tell her to grow up. It's rare when a woman actually takes this to heart. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.